Joining us now, Jason Miller, senior advisor to the Trump campaign. Jason, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So, about last night, tell us about former President Trump, now President-elect Trump, his reaction behind closed doors. You were with him in 2016. It's been a long road.
Yeah, so President Trump was in very good spirits last night, obviously, after winning not just the presidency, but in a manner that was such an overwhelming landslide, winning the popular vote. He's on track to get 312 electoral votes. And for those scoring at home, that's even bigger than what he was able to do in 2016. And Savannah, let me explain why that's such a big deal, because we have such serious problems in front of us with our economy and with the border, and Americans want it fixed now. I think a major reason why President Trump won is because he made it clear how he's going to improve the lives of every American, and the fact that he can do it right away. He doesn't need 1 or 2 or 3 years to figure out where things are, how things in Washington work. He's done it before. We have that great economy. We have that secure border. He can do it right away.
So he talked about having a mandate, which is political speak for saying, I have such a decisive win that I'm going to go in there and I know the American people, or at least half of them, are right behind me for what I want to do. So what does happen on day one? I mean, he talked about mass deportations, for example. He's talked about just again last night saying, OK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you know, you have our health care apparatus. Do what you want. Is that the kind of thing that we're going to see right away? Those tariffs, for example?
Yeah, so one of the things that a lot of folks know is that with executive orders and things you can do with the presidency, some things you can put back in place. So think about it for a moment. All of the secure border policies that we had in place with President Trump, he can simply flip the switch and put those back into place just like they were before. They didn't need an act of Congress to break the border in the first place. When we think about energy exploration, how we get back to drilling, which ultimately then will bring down prices, bring down inflation, he can do that on his own. Other things, of course, will take legislative action and things of that nature. But right away, President Trump can put so many things into place. And again, that is why people are so optimistic and so upbeat about what their personal finances with their personal safety can look like. He's done it once before. He'll do it again.
You know, we look at these results and they are decisive for the Trump campaign, but you also look at a country that's deeply divided. I mean, it's a 50-50 country right now. The former President-elect Trump, talked about healing and turning that page. What do you think that looks like for him?
Well, number one, you take a look at what that coalition was that delivered President Trump the win. I thought a stunning statistic, and this actually came from the NBC News exit surveys, was the fact that President Trump earned the votes of 1 out of every 3 voter of color in the United States. Think about this. This isn't the Republican Party of old. President Trump has completely remade the Republican Party to be the party of the working class. You think about the Teamsters, the union workers, the folks who want to keep the auto industry, but you think about black voters, Latino voters. Think about the Arab American voters in Michigan who rallied around President Trump. His win is already starting to show how he could bring that together. President Trump also last night name-checked a number of Democrats and supporters who aren't traditionally a part of politics and definitely not Republican politics who can help him in that effort. This will be a big, broad coalition that he puts together. We have 2 transition co-chairs in Howard Lutnick and Linda McMahon who have already started to assemble some of those. And I know President Trump, as we saw from that first term, he has a way of being able to put people in place that are going to be successful and who can deliver. Hope is back in America.
All right, Trump campaign advisor Jason Miller, thanks for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.